Hello everybody, this is the Retro Bear back once again in the gaming pantry for another episode of Commodore Corner. Welcome to Commodore Corner, just round the corner from Spectrum Street and down the road from Amstrad Avenue. I hope you are well today and this video finds you in good form. Second episode of Commodore Corner, so we've actually made it to the second episode, which is a bit of a relief, isn't it really? Let's address the game in the room first of all. And we have here a copy of Asterix and Obelix, which is playing on Super Nintendo via Xbox emulation. I'm not sure how long it's going to run for. It may just sort of stop all of a sudden and then nothing will happen. But you never know. Anyway, we'll let it run, see how we get on. So this is the second episode of Commodore Corner. If you've not seen the first one, go back and watch it. What else can I say? If you didn't watch the first one and really can't be bothered to go back and watch it, then let me just tell you what it's all about. Every episode I'll pick a few Commodore games out of my boxes of Commodore games and generally have a go at them and see if they're any good or not. And if they're not, then I'll tell you about it, and if they're really good, I'll tell you about it. But also interspersed with that with some of my comments and gameplay footage as well. So we've got 6 for you again today. 6, we did 2 in the first episode, we've got 6. We'll have a bit of a what's the word? Flurry during time off this week to have a go. So all sorts of different here. We've got a couple of classics from a game series, a classic gaming character, a film conversion and 2 racing games. So we'll crack on with an absolute classic of its day, really, the best way to describe it. It's a classic car, it is a classic game, and it was a game which really, I think, had no fanfare when it came in, but spawned 3 games in its series, 2 sequels afterwards. And this is Lotus Esprit Turbo Challenge, which you'll see from the top there has got a John Menzies £11.25 sticker on it. We'll have a quick look inside the box, which has got the instructions and the tape in there as well. And a quick look at the back of the box with a lot of different screenshots on there. Not necessarily the ones that you're after, because these all appear to be from the Spectrum. Although, tell a lie, that does appear to be a Commodore 64 shot in there. And it's a basic premise. You sort of, no need for me to explain now. Why not watch the footage and see what you make of it, or see what I make of it, and then you can see what you make of it. Right, so you join us for Lotus Turbo Challenge on the Commodore 64. As you can see, it's loading away here. One thing I didn't put in my last video, which I wanted to make sure went in these ones, was a bit of the loading screens and what happens when this process goes. And of course, nowadays you can do it by digital files, which doesn't take a lot of time to do at all. But when you're an old bugger like me, the only way you can do these things really properly is to do it this way, using the proper kit. So Lotus Esprit Turbo Challenge, there's the loading screen. We don't get any music on this one, unfortunately, but well, it is what it is, I suppose, really. Not necessarily drastically important either. So this is the game loading up. Let's just try and fast forward a little bit further on. Let's just try and run that back. There we go. So if I do jump around here a little bit, I'll just try and show you what I'm doing. Now, what happened there was there should have been some options about sort of the setting, difficulty level, changing your name, what sort of control system you wanted in terms of like an automatic or a manual system. And of course, by using this dodgy joystick, which I shall refer to constantly throughout this video, I wasn't able to change the settings at all. So what I've actually gone for, end up here for, is a manual shift, as opposed to what I prefer for using on games like this, which is a automatic shift. Now, this is the main screen. As you can see, one of the downsides to this game is if you're playing one player, unfortunately you are limited to the split screen option. It doesn't give you an opportunity to go full screen for one player, which is a real shame, because it would certainly benefit from that. However, I don't think it detracts greatly from the actual game itself. And as you can see, the track moves along at a fair old lick. You can see you've got little indicators on the screen. So below where the car's driving, you've got to the left hand side a little bar graph of 4 black blocks which we filled with white as they go along. That's the track indications. That'll give you an idea of what lap you're on. So at the moment we're just coming to the end of lap 1. To the right hand side at the moment you go past, there's a pit lane which you need to go into, and you can just see moving along further on below the car, you've got 2 little indicators there. So you've also got the heat, which is the temperature, sorry, the revs of the engine, and then underneath that you've got the fuel. And of course you have to refuel at certain points in some of the races, because you won't get to the very end on just one tank of fuel, so you have to sort of strategically factor in a pit stop. And then you've got your speed and also the gear number on the far side, which I'm really struggling with at the moment. And the top right hand corner of the main game screen gives you the position you are currently in out of 20. And as you can see, I'm currently 19th. You will get overtaken by cars and find out that they don't actually change the position. That's because you're being lapped as it is. Now, one thing that really does annoy me, as you can see there, is the fact that the cars seem to hone in onto the main car, and that is really, really annoying. Now, when I played this on the Amiga, this is when I obviously played it at great length in the past, I found that was a real case, but with a joystick that worked, and a bit more of a better control method in terms of changing gear, etc., not having to worry about keep changing the gears up and down by pressing the fire button, I would do an awful lot better. So yeah, as you can see, a pretty miserable effort for 19th place. Now, this then goes back to loading in sort of the results sequence, which I'll just try and scan through very, very quickly and try and find it for you. There's a lot of loading in. And of course, what it's doing, it's trying to load in sort of the next phase of the game. It's also really annoying as well. It'll be here somewhere. Just try and give you an idea. Yes, there we go. So it tells me game over. There we go. Oh, let me just try and see. There it is. There it is. There it is. And then what you can see here, it gives you a breakdown at the end of each race with the positions, and also because it's a sort of season, you get points for each position. Look at some of the names on there, some classic sort of variations on names of great racing drivers of the past, not just limited to Formula 1. You've got, for example, Russell Brooks, the former, based on Russell Brooks, the former, I think he was the rally driver, I think he was. Nelson Pickett, Jackie Stewart, Murray Walker, which I think is Murray Walker, who passed away a few weeks ago, and Sterling Mess and Derek Werrick. Yes, all these great names that they had on there, which is really, really good fun. Now, what I did do was have to rewind the tape, because you have to finish in the top 10 to qualify for the next race. I had to sort of rewind the tape and then press play to load the next bit in, which was really, really quite silly. And what I did then was forget to record the next race that I did. So what I've done is I've just taken a screenshot of what happened at the end of the race. I had a really good run. I still managed to make a mess of the difficulty settings, although I did on this occasion manage to change my setting to an automatic shift rather than a manual. And as you can see there, I finished 12th. Doesn't necessarily mean that's any good, because I didn't qualify for the next race. However, that was just an indication. So first race 19th, second race 12th, and then as you can see, is it 12th or 11th? I can't see on that one. 11th, I think it is, isn't it? There we go. So I didn't quite get to the very end of it, but let's show you another run from the Italy track. Here we go. So again, we're all set up, ready to go. She's again using a automatic shift, same track as before, and again starting from the very end of the pack to work my way through. Just trying to find the, there we go. So off and running. Join it just after we set off, and by now I'm beginning to get used to this game a little better, but still the way the cars just sort of, there's just no way around them, unfortunately. See that one there just comes behind you and then automatically sits in front, and then you hit the back of the car, which then slows you down. And you can see there, he's followed me all the way across. As far as I could go to the very end, he's followed me all the way across and tried to push me out, which is really, really annoying. And again, there, see, you either end up on the grass or you've got absolutely no way of getting through. It is really, really frustrating. And I seem to remember before, having played this game years and years ago, you need to sort of slow down a little bit. The more you slow down, then you'll be able to manoeuvre things a little bit better. But again, you see, almost practically having to drive myself into the barriers at the side to get past the 18th place car. So we're at the 17th now, which is higher than I got during the first race, and of course now we are motoring here. Now when it goes like this, until that point I hit the back of a car, it goes really, really quite well, and you're quite enjoying it. And you do actually realise that this race is quite a sort of short one in terms of time spent. But yeah, really, really enjoyable little race. And if it wasn't for that infuriating cars being dragged across into you, this would be an absolute must. It really is. I still think it's an essential purchase. I still think if you have a Commodore 64 or you are playing through Commodore 64 games, it's definitely one you need to pick up. It is a well-known and well-regarded title for the system. I still prefer, though, the Amiga version, having played this one. It's still better for me. But yeah, so that's Lotus Turbo Challenge on the Commodore 64. So what do I make of it? Well, it's a good game. And I think if I'd managed to sort of have a decent joystick, I know a man shouldn't blame his tools for a bad job, but the joystick I'm using, in fact, throughout the whole 6 of these games, is pretty shocking. It wasn't so bad in the first episode I did, because I only used it for 2 games, but to be fair, I need probably get myself a decent joystick to use. You can use pads with it, but it doesn't, obviously, you can use the Mega Drive joypad in there, but it's a no-no because that does have a habit of sort of shorting the ports out, so it's got to be a proper joystick. So I've got 3 or 4, but the 2 I've been using, the Quick Shot and the Quick Shot sort of flight joystick, don't cut it, I'm afraid. So a few control issues. Also, what I don't like about this game is the fact that the cars sort of home in on you. Go away, stop, let me get past you. But as you can see, after sort of like first go, terrible. Second go, which I didn't record, not so bad. Third go, yeah, okay. It's a game I played on the Amiga. I enjoyed it much more on the Amiga, but I think that is a pretty good game. And for a race on the Commodore 64, not too bad at all, really. So yeah, check that one out. I'd recommend that one. Would I recommend this one? Probably not. Super Monaco Grand Prix, a game which I'm very familiar with on the Mega Drive. Not so keen on this one, I've got to be honest with you. Super Monaco Grand Prix tape and the box. Also in here was the instructions. What was fascinating to note is that the instructions are there on the back of something to do with maybe promotional material, I don't know. We've got Shadow Dancer, which is there. We've got Super Monaco Grand Prix, which is there. Then we've got S-SWAT, E-SWAT, and then that one there, upside down in it, Line of Fire, which I've got somewhere. I'm not sure I've got E-SWAT at all. Also, what was interesting, which I noticed on this here, was an advertisement for coming soon from Sega, Alien Storm, or Alan Storm, as it's more commonly known, and G-Lock. But what's more interesting here is also said, don't forget as well, he drops it on the floor, to also available from Sega is a Sega Master Mix. Now this is interesting. It's got Crackdown, which I don't remember, although it's got goats on the front cover. Thunderblade, which was a terrible conversion on any system of a 3D helicopter game. Dynamite Ducks, which, depending on which version you got, is a pretty good game. Turbo Outrun, which I didn't enjoy at all. And Super Wonderboy. Now, I wasn't aware that Super Wonderboy actually came out. I thought Wonderboy was the only game that came out for the home systems, other than console, but evidently not. So if anybody knows more about that than I do myself, there's the back of the box, which tends to display arcade and other version screenshots rather than the versions that you're going to be getting. So what do I think about Sega Super Monaco Grand Prix? Let's find out. So you join us for Super Monaco Grand Prix on the Commodore 64, and we are greeted with a loading screen halfway through, which is a fair representation, certainly for the Commodore 64, of the title screen from the arcade, although it does appear that the young lady holding the card appears to have no nose. I'm not sure how she smells. Also, in the arcade version and in the Mega Drive version, the cars sort of whizzing back and forth in the background. What you have to do here is quite literally just select what transmission you want, automatic or manual. As you can see, you've got a diagram there. We've got, just try and pause that a second so we can just see it a little bit better. There we go. So you've got A class, which is shift 1, 2, 3, 4, using the up and down to accelerate. Use the up and down button to change the gear. Then if you look on the Super A class, you've actually got 7 gears, which means you can sort of shift between all those. Or if you go like I will, and always in the best way the case to go here, is to use the E class, which is just the automatic shift button. And it lets you change the gears all by itself for you. And then you select that, and then it loads the rest of the game in, which is always infuriating. So I'll just scan through this very, very quickly. We've made a note of where we should have been. Here we go. Just try and find the footage. Okay. So what you've got first of all is a qualifying lap, and then it goes straight into the race. Now that is really quite no sort of break in between. Really, really, very strange. So off we go. Little bit of trouble with the joystick again, a little bit slippy on the controls, although that again I'm afraid is down to my equipment, not down to the actual game itself. One thing we noticed about these driving games on the Commodore 64, there's a lot of green around. Green, you know, sort of Chase HQ was green, Lotus was green, this is sort of green as well. Is that a good representation of a Formula 1 car? It's alright, but what they have got there is the actual animation for the steering wheel being turned. So you've got your speed on the top left hand corner, your position in the middle for qualifying, your shift option on the right hand corner, and the time you're doing in the right hand side of the screen. Now what you'll notice is as you get further and further closer to the end of your lap, that position at the top will change, and that will give you your grid position as you go through. So it's a very sort of fair representation. I mean, I don't think it's any better or anything worse than we've seen so far in terms of driving games on the Commodore 64. I think it's fairly competent. As you can see, my position has changed to third, so this will give me my grid position fourth, and then fifth, and qualified in fifth place. So what this now does is takes me to the race itself. So as you've got more fake drivers' names, Nicky Lauren, I'm sure, and then player right in the middle there, 1:10:03. I don't think that's too bad actually, just be a minute off the pace. So no more loading in, you go straight into the race itself. You start in fifth, everything is exactly the same. You'll notice a difference if you've never played Super Monaco Grand Prix before. You now have something called a position limit. If at any point you drop below that position during the race, you have a limited time to get back in front of that position, otherwise you will be forced to retire. And that will change as you go around the course. Obviously you can move up a position, and that will position limit bottom line will keep dropping down as you go through. Also, what I was really interested to see on this race here is that I felt that the qualifying lap was perhaps a touch generous in terms of its collision detection. You probably will see very shortly that this one is not in the actual race itself, but we're making a good go of this at the moment. Not going too badly. We're currently in fifth. We haven't overtaken anybody, but we haven't let anybody go past us. Not a bad representation of a Formula 1 car going past there. They are sort of different colours. I'm not warming the tyres up there. I'm just trying to get used to it. I'm about to be overtaken. I've actually got to fourth now. And you see my position, my bottom position line has now dropped to ninth. And we're about to do a lap, I think, here. 105, 105, 105. Oh, and there you go. Now, that says there I've actually clipped the back of that car, which is a real shame, because what that does, it kills the game stone dead. That's it, you're out of the race altogether. And then when it does, it then loops back in to another qualifying lap on another race at the same course, obviously Monaco. So yeah, really, really strange. So I'm not sure how far this game sort of goes. It's really, really weird. But what's it like? Well, it looks like it's going to be a fairly short old game. I'm not sure if there are any more courses beyond the one course on here, or this literally is it, because if this literally was it, a qualifying lap and then 3 or 4 laps of the main track and that was it, I think you'd feel a bit short change for your money. Even back in the late 80s, early 90s when this came out. As a driving game, it's not too bad. I think probably it's a case of one of these games where you've got the original source material is not quite as good as perhaps it should be. And when I played the Mega Drive version of this game, for example, they throw in a full 16 race season, which actually adds to the longevity of playing that game. I've never played it on any other system. Like I played the arcade game, I've never played it on any other system apart from the Mega Drive, so I can't really speak for things like the 16-bit versions or the other 8-bit versions. But yeah, if it's the budget title for a couple of quid, I think you'd probably get enough justification out of it. But for a full price title, this does seem a little bit lacking. Not good. Yeah. Better on other systems. Yeah, I don't think I played the Amiga version when I had the Amiga, so my first exposure to Super Monaco Grand Prix probably would have been the arcade and the Mega Drive version. Even the Mega Drive version I love purely because there's a full season Grand Prix to run through, and it's really, really good. The game itself is all right, but this is just a shoddy old conversion. I think, again, probably with a bit of practice and a better joystick, I probably would have quite comfortably sailed through that, especially the first time around. I'm not quite sure what happened there. It seemed very strange that you didn't seem to be able to bounce off the sides and crash into objects during your qualifying lap, but as soon as you got yourself into a race, that happened. Interesting. I don't know. Let's move on from sort of racing games, a bit of change of direction now, and let's talk about film conversions, because film conversions were a big thing back in the day. If you had a big film coming out, guarantee you're going to have a game to come out with it. So, biggest protagonist of all this with Ocean Software, most people know, made some very, very good games out of films. Then they got lazy and basically regurgitated the same sort of feel of game, either a sort of multi-stage, platform game, platform level, driving level, shooting level, puzzle section, platform game, finish, or platform game. So what we got here is Total Recall, the film, the Arnold Schwarzenegger film, which was it was all right actually, wasn't it? I haven't got the instructions for this one, but I have got those lovely ocean baggies and a tape inside. I've got so many of these ocean bags, it's brilliant. No screenshots on the back. Now this is interesting, because I'm not sure whether this version, well, it says no screenshots, there are, but it does say various titles. I think that one may possibly be the Commodore 64 one. I could be wrong. In fact, I think I am wrong. It's not like the one I play. It might be, I don't know. It's, I think, quite close. Nice sort of shot from Arnie there, but yeah, not an awful lot about the film, the game on the back of it. Is it any good? Well, let's find out. What's my recall like on this? Is it total? Is it partial? So this is Total Recall, and as we are greeted here with the standard obligatory loading screen and Ocean Loader 4 music, I think this one is. Might be 5, I'm not sure, I think it is 4. This is Jonathan Dunn's version, he did 4 and 5. And always a fantastic thrill to load up a game and have this tune going in the background. It just sort of takes me back, this does. I've told this story many, many times. I used to have a friend who had a Commodore 64, and I always used to go around and make him load Ocean games just so I could listen to this particular piece of music, but it is rather fantastic, and certainly brings back a lot of happy memories on this one. Let's fast forward to some game footage. So we're greeted with the main screen here. And I don't think Ocean did a bad job with the presentation on this. Quite how the game plays is again a little bit dubious. I've not played this on any other system, so again I can't comment on other versions at the time, say for example the other 8-bit versions, or the 16-bit versions, or even indeed the NES one, which I think is a completely different game to this. But Ocean had a tendency to follow a very similar theme with a lot of their film licenses, platform games in stages, interspersed with sort of mini games like shooting sections or puzzle sections or driving sections. So I'm not really quite sure what we expect on this one here. Anyway, I am immediately struggling with the limitations of my joystick again, so I'm really sorry about this. I'm just trying to work out what that is. What I don't realise at the time is actually a brown box in front of me. I can't get over it. Why can't I get over the brown box? Well, I have to sort of destroy the brown box so I can actually punch and then pick up whatever that appears to be. I don't know what it is, but it appears to make my muscle in the bottom left hand corner increase. So for some reason I've got a muscle ability of 2 and 400 points. And yeah, I've been killed by some spikes, which is really annoying. And this was very much the theme for about half an hour or so of trying to play this game. Let's try and move on to a different point. So I've killed that box there. We're going to jump over those spikes. Bottom of your screen, those little triangles, actual energy bar. You've also got a score, left hand corner. On the right hand corner you've got the time, which you can't see because I'm dead again. Oh man, this was really, really infuriating. Let's try and get over this one again. And again, I'm not sure whether it appears to be my joystick just refusing to jump. You can't jump straight up. This is the really annoying thing. Every jump is either to the left or to the right, depending on which way you're facing. So you don't have to jump up left. Just by moving the joystick up means you jump automatically to the left up, which is really, really frustrating if you're trying not to do that. You appear to be carrying some sort of gun which will enable you to shoot somebody with. And this is a little brown platform. And that's the spikes below there. Get off those. Now, I can't go to that above screen because there's a barrier there, and I'm still not trying to working out how to shoot that person, but I do manage to kill him. So there's an L arrow on the wall which is pointing up, so I need to go up on this. He's standing behind a wall, so I can't hit him. So I jump across here, and then I've hit a box for some reason. So it's putting in extra jumps already. And then for some reason, I'm supposed to jump over that and then get into another section of the game, which I'm really, really unsure about. So yeah, this is not going at all well. So let's try again. Now this is a bit further on. Now you notice I'm in a completely different part of the game. This was probably after about half an hour of playing it, I managed to get up a couple of levels. So we'll just play this out and then I'll just show you where I get to on this one. So it's very much the platform vein here. It sort of reminds me an awful lot of something like the way Batman the movie started. You've got a platform section to start that game. I'm just trying to work my way around it. So it's sort of like that. I mean, no doubt about it. I think given time to sort of go and sort of play this properly and try and work out what the hell I'm meant to do, I don't think there's a bad game in here. I think it's not too bad, but at the moment it's sort of like making me pull my hair out with absolute disgust and dread, and yeah, I don't know. Definitely something I need to put a bit more time into. Can I shoot him? Can't I shoot him? I don't know. There's another brown box there, so I can just blow that up. It looks got some spinach, possibly. I don't know. Am I meant to go up on this one or down on this one? I don't know. Whoops. Careful. See, again, you've got to make sure you get your jumps absolutely right, because if you don't, oh, I'm about to be shot with something. Oh, there we go. So, oh, it says go down there. Watch those spikes. I've only got 2 little bars of energy left. So I've got to make sure this jump is absolutely spot. If I don't get this jump spot on, I'm dead. There we go. And that really is Total Recall in a nutshell. You have to do an awful lot of jumping around and a lot of trial and error to find out where you're going. Get yourself a decent joystick, because in here, I honestly think there might not be a bad game. That jumping mechanic really does kill it for me, and I'm not sure. Again, I think that joystick was really playing it. In fact, I switched joysticks halfway through that particular game, and it didn't seem to make much difference. So I'm not sure whether this jumping mechanism, firing mechanism on it, or whatever. It just didn't seem to respond very well. So I'm really sorry for that. A lot of this footage is a load of crap, but I hope it gives you an idea about it. Honestly, again, I think that doesn't seem like a bad game. It's just my appalling gameplay on it. I think it looks like it could be a decent little platformer, that one. Not the game I was expecting either as well. I was expecting, I think the Amiga version had much more sort of defined smaller sprites on it. But not a game I played. I haven't played any version of Total Recall ever. So I don't know, jury's out on that one. I would like to play a bit more of it, just to give it a real sort of going over before I can make a proper judgment on it. But like I said, I need to get some proper kit. Now we'll do these two next, because these are a game series, and a game series which is going to be so what's the word, familiar to a lot of people. A lot of people have played these games. This game actually was converted onto sort of 16-bit console, for which the super version of this on the Super Nintendo is quite expensive. I'm talking about Turrican, which was a game, as you can see there, which won so many different awards. So many different awards. We've got the Zap Gold Medal, we've got the Zero Hero, the Games Machine Star Player, your Sinclair, Commodore User, CNG Hit, Crash Smash, made by Rainbow Arts, who ironically at that time were actually turning out pretty dreadful games. So the fact this came along at something else was completely, you know, sort of blew everybody away. Got the tape and the manual. What's interesting about this as well is you've got this great sort of like cover art there, and on the inside for some reason you've got these sort of like comic drawings. I'm really not quite sure what they were aiming for on that. Well, just the one comic drawing, but I'm not quite sure. It just completely detracts from that, doesn't it? Again, nice manual, that one. Nice manual, good condition. And this is a futuristic sort of side-scrolling, multi-directional sort of scrolling shooter, where you've got to go through and blast your way to the end of the level. Again, joystick problems withstanding. Bad gameplay. I'll let you work your own way around that one as well. But this was a massive success on every single system it came onto. And I think did they remake it recently? I don't know. Let's have a look at Turrican, see how we get on with that one. Now, frustratingly, Turrican sort of loads in the levels as you go along, so it does sort of infuriate a little bit from that point of view. However, we are confronted with a title screen or a loading screen, and I think that's pretty well done. Nice big logo at the top there, some nice sort of flashy firework effects, and some credits here at the front to tell you what's going on. Really sort of impressed with the presentation on this game, no doubt about it. One of the very better looking games, certainly on the Commodore 64. Taking around about 2 minutes 50 seconds to load that in, which I don't think is too bad. Then we have to load a little bit more in, which is going to take a little bit of time, so we'll just try and scan through a little bit on this one to try and find out the point where I actually pressed fire and loaded the game in, which is over here. There we go. Oops, let's go back a bit. Right. It's the thing, you have to sort of wait for these, you know, is it going to load? Is it not going to load? Will it load? Won't it load? You're never quite sure. Anyway, it did. So here you go. And it is a run and gun left-right multi-directional. You've got a bottom left-hand corner, there's your number of lives. Right-hand corner is your score. And you've got little things across the timer there, which is telling you how long you've got left. Some diamonds to pick up, some ferricles, something else there. And a big sort of weapon, if you press the space bar, gives you a sort of like a destroys everything left and right on the screen for you. There are power-ups, as you can see. I've now got a 3-way shot. This is not really my sort of game, I've got to be honest with you, and I've got to be honest, I do get a little bit lost here. What I don't like about it is these blind jumps. It is sort of annoying because you're never quite sure what you're jumping onto or jumping into, or in some cases not actually getting anywhere near at all. But yeah, you've got all these different sort of enemies coming at you, little sort of droids. You've got this thing sort of firing shots straight up. You've got boulders to contend with, which we'll see in a second. There we go, some more boulders to contend with coming right down on me and killing me stone dead. But I do like that effect when you die. It sort of takes the screen out and puts it back in again. Now, I had to get this on the Amiga when I first played it, and I was never a massive Turrican fan, and that probably is going to sort of wind a few people up. I'm not saying Turrican's a bad game. I think there is a good game in there, and I think with a little bit more thought process and perhaps you know, better gameplay from myself, I probably will be able to sit down and enjoy this. But when I first played it on the Amiga, I just couldn't see why everybody was sort of you know, sort of wetting themselves over it. See, blind jump. Where am I going? Certain death. No idea. But you can see from now, I've got no idea what I'm jumping into. So what am I jumping into? There's a platform there. Is it a big platform? No, it's a very, very small one. And you know, how many more of these? What's over here? So I don't like that. I think you should be able to see what you're jumping onto. And quite why he's able to shoot me through the wall, I don't know as well. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think it's a bad game at all. I think it's just an incredibly frustratingly annoying one. What's even more annoying is that once it finishes, you then have to follow the instructions. You can't just continue. You have to rewind the tape to a certain position. So you reset the counter, rewind it to 986, press space, and then it should load in. Except it didn't. In fact, I did this 2 or 3 times, and it just simply wouldn't have it. So we started again on a completely different game. So I had to basically reload the entire thing from scratch, which only took about 4 or 5 minutes. It's not too much of a problem to do something like that, but it should work a little bit better. Again, so picking up these power-ups and just trying to increase the ability and just work out where I'm meant to be going, because honestly, I don't really know. Should I be going straight down here? Should I be going left to right? Should I be going up? Because, you know, there is the option to go up. There we go. Did I get that? Yes. Off we go across. You've got these little bat-type creatures that come along here as well. There is also the option to do what I think they call a gyroscope, which is the ability to sort of turn yourself into a sort of moving sort of shuriken. I think the best way is to describe it, the sort of shape of it. I just didn't have time to work out how to do that. I think on the Amiga you simply used to sort of hold your joystick down and press fire, and it would automatically do that. That's going to kill me. Giant spike up the backside to finish things off. Yeah, so there is the opportunity, and you can just sort of bounce around in invincibility, and it's not something that is limited use either. You can carry on using it much as you want, but I couldn't find out how to do that. So I know on this version, by pressing spacebar, you sort of deploy that kill everything on the screen, both sides of you method, which sort of works. Like I said, I don't think this is a bad game. I think it's just a game which I need to be rather good at, and I'm not. These sort of troglodyte type things here, trilobites, aren't they? The little fossils you used to find at on the beach in rocks, very common ones. So yeah, it probably doesn't help where I don't know actually where I'm going. I suppose probably it reminds you a little bit like Metroid in a way, in some ways or another. I'm going to die again, aren't I? Yes. Oh dear. Yep, and so on and so on, and that's pretty much how it continued for a good hour or so. But there we go. I think there is a good game in here, and I'm definitely going to persevere with it at some point, but maybe not today. So that's the first one, and again, I probably played that more on the Amiga, so that was my experience on it there. The problem with these multi-load games is that if you sort of die very quickly, as quite a common occurrence when I play games, you die quite quickly. What you have to do is then the tricky process of rewinding the tape to the exact point where it tells you to do so, and then reloading it in again. Now, I didn't have a problem with Lotus, because that seemed to work every single time. But with this one here, it sort of said reset the counter and then rewind to 980 and press play. So you do that. If you know, again, the data cassette thing has got a little counter which runs through when you load the game in. So I rewinded from this point back to where it told me to do, reset the counter, rewinded to 980, press play, nothing happens. So I had to reload the game in again afterwards. And the same thing happened with its sequel, Turrican 2. I'll come to it in a second. Yes, recommend that one thoroughly. Very good game. Not one of my favourite games, but I think if you're looking for sort of a quality arcade adventure shooter type game, that is definitely the game for you. Same with Turrican 2. In fact, if anything, this is better. The final fight, again, great artwork on the front, but they still got this stupid comedy drawing on the inside, which I'll show you. In fact, if anything, this manual is actually in a far better condition than the other one. I see that comic drawing again. Yeah, not sure why that's there. What's also interesting about this as well is that I've not mentioned it so far, but every single one of these games loaded apart from Turrican 2. For those who watched the very first episode will notice that there's a quick screenshot at the back there. Just give you some blurb in a second to talk about the loading. The very first episode, I had a real problem loading Chase HQ. Took me to go through 4 data cassette recorders before I found one that actually worked. I've actually got 5. I thought I had 6, I've got 5. Unbeknownst to me, Mrs. Bear bought one a few weeks ago off eBay, quite cheap, boxed. I think it was being sold as seen, not working. And I tried my 5th one, which has got one of these meters on it, which apparently you can adjust the sound level on it, but it didn't appear to be working properly because it just wouldn't load. I even checked the internet to find out how long it takes to load. That takes 2 minutes 48 seconds to load the first level. So when I say things like, oh, 10 minutes later the game loads, not entirely true. This one should take 2 minutes 50 seconds. So obviously once 2 minutes 50 seconds passes, I've got the recorder going on the screen, I can see what's going on. And I think, you know what, yeah, that's not going to happen, is it? So I've tried all my data cassettes. I thought, do I start going through the old ones which weren't working properly or not? So I said to Spare, I said, have you got that data cassette you bought a couple of weeks ago? Can I borrow it? She said, yeah, borrow it, test it. Loaded first time. And that one's still now plugged in because everything else, I played a couple more games after that and everything else loaded actually first time as well. So yeah, Turrican 2, the sequel, described by Zero as an essential purchase. CMVG said it had an arcade quality scroll. Not quite sure what version they're talking about. It could possibly be the Amiga version, it could possibly be the Commodore 64 version. Zap said it was possibly the game for 1991. And Commodore Format said the technical and visual excellence of the game, not to mention the superb playability throughout this vast title, can't be praised too highly. Or to be highly enough, surely, not too highly. You can't praise something too high, you're not going to praise, are you? I don't know. Anyway, Turrican 2, let's have a look. So yeah, we've got Turrican 2 now. And again, confronted with one of these wonderful sort of intermediate loading screens before you can actually get to the proper game itself. But again, probably improved quite a bit. Those graphics look a lot more bolder and brighter, don't they? Turrican 2, the final fight. And some credits with a nice little water effect on the graphics at the bottom there. And all you need to do is just simply press fire, select the number of credits you need, press fire, move on to the next bit. And then it loads that bit in, as it says. So this is the problem, it sort of loads games in, you have to sort of sit there and wait a little bit longer. But as you can see, is Turrican 2 any different to Turrican 1? Well, I certainly think the graphics have improved tremendously since the last game. I think there's a bit more definition to them. Certainly the weapons look a bit beefier, that's for sure. And it still sort of follows the same concept of the previous game, multi-directional run and gun, which is the best way to get through to the end of the level. Not that way, as demonstrated there, but a nice little graphical interchange in between losing lives. And I think actually I've got on more with this game. Nothing wrong with Turrican 1, but I think when it came out, I don't think there was the anticipation when it first came out, because technically speaking, when it came out from Rainbow Arts, they weren't really making very good games at the time, so the quality would have been questionable to start with. But this one, definitely there was a real sort of buzz about it, and they really had to deliver, and I think they have done here. You may have just have seen that when he's walking across that little man walking across that little rope bridge, the fact that the rope bridge sort of dipped as he walked along it. Little touches like that go an awful long way to showing just what this game is all about. Great care and attention's gone into it. I'm making an absolute pig's ear of it, but I mean, you know, whatever. You're not come here to watch my quality gameplay, you've come here to be talk to you about how good this game is. Once again, as with Turrican 1, I did exactly what it told me to do, rewind the tape, and it didn't work. So we had to load it in again. Not to worry. We will have some more footage here for you in a second. But yeah, this is one of the annoying things about takedowns. You have to sort of keep going through and working out where exactly they are. It does get incredibly fiddly if you don't get that takedown to smack bang on. It's not going to work. Real shame. But yeah, I did enjoy this, and I think once again more time is needed to really put the effort in and give this game a proper good go. Again, proper joystick would be needed. Would not be nice. I need to get myself a proper joystick and try and work out where the hell I'm meant to be going. But yes, this is a really good game, and I think probably I would favour this one over the first one. It's not always the case that a sequel tends to be a better game, but I really think because the stakes were raised, because the first game got so well received and did so well, that this one is definitely a step up, beefed up, whatever you want to do, improved probably. I would say, yeah, very much improved on the first one. Maybe even more difficult and annoying than the first one was as well, which is good. That's what people want, a challenge. So yeah, Turrican 2 should definitely be in your Commodore 64 collection, no doubt about it. So again, I think probably one of these situations I have to put a bit more time into it with some decent kit. Didn't know this was a bit of a tear on the box. So usually these games are in really good condition. Like some of this stuff I can't remember where I got it from, possibly from my friend Andy. But I think most of these actually probably would have come out of a job lot. But yeah, I mean, Turrican, I mean, they're both great games, and I think Super Turrican, when that came out on the Super Nintendo, possibly was an amalgamation of both. And it does have fond memories for people who played micro systems back in the day as one of the real sort of great games of all time. I need to put some more time into it. And the animation is great, the sprites are great. It's a game where you can really explore. I don't like some of the blind jumping, I've got to say, and that would apply to the first game as well, because some of it, obviously, you are in the realms of, you know, sort of jumping off screen. You're not quite sure what you're jumping to do. I hate games like that. I like to see what I'm jumping on. So there were quite a few cheap deaths. Possibly they could have been avoided with a bit more care and attention. I don't know, but yeah, I would certainly recommend that. It's you know, if you want to play an 8-bit game on the Commodore 64, you can't go any further wrong than Turrican and Turrican 2, honestly. And so the final game for this episode of Commodore Corner is a well-known gaming character. Not my usual sort of games, but I did find myself incredibly sucked in from pretty much the word go. It is, of course, Dizzy, and this is Crystal Kingdom Dizzy, which I believe was the last micro adventure for the Egg. The biggest hero of them all, according to Mega Power. High adventure, rich rewards, and big trouble. The UK's most popular computer game hero. Not my words, the words of Amiga Action. There we go. No manual with this one, sadly, just the tape. And then some screenshots on the back. We've got the parrot, and we've got the pirate captain called Captain Beardy. They really spent a long time working that one out. And then there's this crocodile which looks suspiciously like the crocodile from Peter Pan. Not sure what you think about that one, but yeah, I don't know. It's one of them, but it's a Dizzy game, and the thing is with Dizzy games, by this point in time, they've gone from being sort of like a one-hit death to sort of giving you some lives and also some strength, power before you actually sort of die. Again, not the sort of game I would sit down and play, but roll VT and we'll see how we get on. So on to the last game of this episode of Commodore Corner. This is Crystal Kingdom Dizzy, everybody's favourite egg. Once again, in his, I think it was his final 8-bit adventure. And yeah, interesting. A nice representation of the front cover there. Not quite accurate as it is. There's a few different colour issues going on. For example, the parrot's red in the front cover and it's green here. I am being picky, of course. I don't think that's too bad, actually. Quite nice little representation of that. If you've ever played a Dizzy game, then you'll know exactly what to expect. Also, what you can see there quite strange is you can enter the Game Genie code at the start of the game. And of course, Game Genie was something that Codemasters came up with, basically sort of a way of hacking a system, hacking a game, so you could actually cheat and give yourself infinitive lives. Interesting to note, this game, other than old Dizzy games, is that you get actually lives and a life bar per life. Dizzy games, when they first came out, were notorious for being so difficult in the fact you got a one-hit life, that was it. And as you can see, there are little enemies running around. There's a snake on that screen, for example, and some cherries to pick up. And this is me getting used to the controls and also getting used to the joystick and still failing to make that jump there. But yeah, this is very much sort of a typical Dizzy game. Lots of platform jumping, exploring to do, items to pick up, items to use that you pick up. For example, we've got a 1-ton weight here. What are we going to do with that? So we'll stick it into the inventory and we'll go and use it on an item somewhere else. There must be something which we can do. Now also, with Dizzy games, you're not quite sure what you can jump on and what you can't jump on. So for example, I'm thinking I can jump on top of that well. No, I can't. I can jump on top of the bricks on top of the well, but I can't jump on top of the thatched part of it. You'll also notice I've hit that snake twice. My chances in the middle at the very bottom have already gone down from 3 to 1, so I am literally one hit away from dying. I can't reach that gold coin there, so I just have to move on and go and do something else and explore this side of the screen. But yeah, looks very good. I think one of the better looking Dizzy games, I think, for the system. That wasn't a direct port from, say, the Amstrad or the Commodore 64. And this is the puzzle element side of it. You can see that there's a switch which makes that little platform go up and down. And that's that red thing there that I'm standing on. So, having picked up the weight, it will probably make sense to drop the weight on that switch to leave it there, and therefore that switch will go up and down and allow me to jump on it when I feel like it. If I can jump on it and not die. Oh, God, cretin. I'd like to blame the control to blame myself on this one. I don't know. Can I go inside there? No, I can't. But I can talk to this person here. Happens to be Daisy, whoever she is, and basically sort of saying, because I messed the bedroom up, I can't actually go inside at that hut. So there's no entry, no room at the inn, as they say. So we'll move on from that one and go and explore it over here. There appears to be an elephant over there. At least it looks like an elephant. And I know it's an elephant because it's called CJ, and that's one of actually Codemasters' other game, an elephant platforming game involving an elephant. CJ, Elephants, Antics, and I think CJ in the USA as well was the other title that they did. I think they're not bad games either. And then further on here, another 1-ton weight, which is very strange because there must be something else I have to drop that on, and also some cherries to pick up as well. You'll also notice that by the door there's actually a little brown line underneath that door. Now, unbeknownst to me at the time here, that if you pressed down and down on your joystick, you can enter that hut. Not sort of do what I do, which is spend the next 5 minutes wandering around thinking, what do I do now? So, infuriatingly enough, time progressed a bit longer for about 15-20 minutes. I'm trying to work out what I'm meant to be doing and where I'm meant to be going, because Dizzy games always have that, what's that word, that ability to sort of drive you insane with sort of its puzzle solving methods and where you're meant to be going, and there are items up and above the screen that you can't get to. You know, if I jumped up here, there you can see there's another level up there, but there's no immediate obvious way of getting up there. So I sort of stroll around here for the 10 minutes or so. Let's move on to the bit where I actually work out what I'm meant to be doing. And I will have to admit that I did actually consult YouTube. Yes, I had to sit there, get my phone out and consult somebody playing this game for about 10 minutes, working out what they were meant to do. And I eventually found out what I was meant to do, which is where we are now. and as you can see, I jump onto this moving platform as I did before, and that yellow box there under the window you can actually jump on. Now that isn't immediately apparent, and again that's one of the more frustrating elements of these games, what you can jump on, what you can't jump on. And as you can see by now, I've worked out how to get in through the doors as well, so there's other characters to talk to. You know, they don't want you to get through these games easily enough, aren't they? But what these characters do, they will tell you about certain things. So he's told you to bugger off, basically. We'll come across Dizzy's brother, or his brother, I think. See, we've got another platform here, so I've already got to wait. So what I should be doing is standing on the... Why is that not working? Because I haven't put the weight on the switch. I've actually put the weight by the switch. Pick it up. Pick it up, jump on the switch. Make the switch move. Drop the weight on the switch. The switch is now permanently stuck down and moving around, so we can get the cherries and then go into here. Now I think we'll come into Denzel, which is another one of the Dizzy characters. And then he's trying to fix Grand Dizzy's glasses, but I've lost some of my tools. We've always spent the Grand Dizzy told you clear off. He's now told you that he can't fix his glasses because he hasn't got his tools, so that should now be automatically registering with you what you need to do. You need to go and find the tools to give to Denzel so he can mend the glasses, which can take the Grand Dizzy, and then things fall into place. So it's a process. Like I said, you haven't played a game like this. You really need to understand those basics, and that's really how it is. You know, how on earth you'd sort of work these things out when you were, you know, younger, I don't know. But this is what drives some people a bit mad and a bit, you know, unfairly slanting the Dizzy games, because they are a bit sort of hit and miss like this. But those people who do get into them really enjoy them, and I must be honest with you, I think if I'd spent a bit more time playing this game again, and I played these games very, the first time you're seeing this footage, I'll say all the way through, first time you're seeing these games is the first time I'm playing them. So which is why it tends to be the beginning of the game, you don't see much else afterwards. But to give me a taste of whether I'll be playing any more of these games in the future, and I think honestly, again, time required, I will probably sit down, load this up and give it a good play and see how I get on. And the great thing about it, it's a one load game as well, so it's not going to load in the other levels. You can just load all this at once and get straight on with it. And I would really give this a recommendation. It also makes me want to go back and play some of the earlier Dizzy games and see how annoyingly frustrating they were. I've played a couple of them, but not all of them, and there are quite a lot of them. And what about the adventure games, not the spin-offs? And we'll probably be seeing a bit more of Dizzy in the future. But yeah, Crystal Kingdom Dizzy, I would say probably definitely worth checking out if you can find yourself a copy of it. I'm not going to lie to you, I did actually sort of have a poke around the internet and YouTube just to see exactly where the hell I was meant to go, because the problem is with some of these games is unless you know, you've got no idea. And of course, years ago we would have had no idea at all. We'd have been sort of looking for infinitive cheat codes and infinitive live codes just so we can carry on and play the game, or maps that people would draw and make out and send in the magazines. That was the only way of doing it. So my only way of sort of actually progressing any further with this game was to actually look on YouTube and find out what the heck I was meant to be doing and where I was meant to be going, because I didn't think I'd go to a certain point. And it's not the most obvious thing to jump on that crate, which then takes you to the higher screen up. It didn't look like it was something I could jump on. So very strange, but I really did enjoy playing that, and I must be honest with you, again, I probably would happily sit down and go back and play that. So I would recommend it. I mean, I've got loads of the other Dizzy. I've got so many Dizzy games from the Codemasters collection, Codemasters series of games that came out in my other crate, that at some point I probably will get to those. But I've got other games. I've got to get to this box first. There's so many other games in this box to sort out. There's some really obscure games later. I'm trying to do it box by box at the moment. So yeah, so those are your 6 games for this episode of Commodore Corner. We've got Lotus Esprit Turbo Challenge. Yes, I would recommend that one. Sega Super Monaco Grand Prix. No, I wouldn't recommend it. Total Recall. I think there's a good game in there somewhere. I just need probably more reliable equipment. The Turrican games, yep, you know, absolutely essential purchase for Commodore 64. And Crystal Kingdom Dizzy, I was pleasantly surprised by that one, and I will probably go back and play a bit more of that at some point in the future. But yeah, not bad there, not bad. I mean, hopefully we'll find some games I can't recommend. Well, I'm probably giving you 3 or 4 good recommendations there and one don't touch the barge pole, so there we go. Hope you enjoyed the episode of Commodore Corner. Thank you very much indeed for tuning in. We will put another one of these up very, very soon. In the meantime, that, I still can't get it right. I'm sat at an angle, that's what it is. That thing there, you know, that pops up with the little fingers. Do that. That'll tell you when another one's going up. And we'll do another one very, very soon. But until then, this is the Retro Bear saying thank you once again for your company. It's so kind of you to do so. See you again very, very soon. Take care. Bye for now.